that we have completed our application in terms of functionality, what we can do now is that we can move forward and work with in-app purchases. So the thing about in-app purchases is that you could think of places where we can add them for the user. So basically we would ask them for a small one-time fee and then they can unlock the full feature, the full app for lifetime. That is the idea behind adding in-app purchase for this app would be. So I'm not thinking of going along the route of subscriptions, but we would have just a one-time purchase. So I was thinking that the users have this ability to make a post. So how about we add a paywall behind it that they could make certain number of posts for free, but then after that they have to pay us a small fee in order to unlock the full application. Because the whole concept behind this application was that suppose you travel a lot, so you could post a lot of informative stuff for others to see, and does it's kind of a informative app as well. So I am thinking of adding a paywall behind the new post screen basically. So the moment they want to make a new post after completing a certain number of posts, it won't allow them to, and it would show them a paywall. So okay, how about we just go on our GitHub, and not GitHub, I meant browser, and there is two tabs I have opened. One is my App Store Connect and one is my Apple developer account, so basically developer.apple.com. So first thing that you need to do in order to implement in-app purchase is that you need to configure them from App Store Connect as well. So for App Store Connect, you would actually go to the app screen. You have selected your account. These are some of the apps that I've made. So what I would do now is click on this plus icon. I would select new app, and from the bundle ID, I would actually have to choose the bundle identifier I have added right here inside my application, which is this. So I was just checking this now, but I did not find it there. So the thing is that if you cannot find your bundle identifier there, it's not a big issue. What we can do is that we can register a new bundle ID in certificates, identifier and profiles. So that is what I did here. If I just click on it, it leads me to this screen, which is the same if you go inside your developer.apple.com and go to identifiers. So let's just go back from here, and since we are using this, now what you need to do is that it directly lands you to this register an app ID page. And what you do now is that you go back to your application, you copy your bundle identifier, you come here, you paste this here. Now in the description you could say social media app, or you could add any description as per you want. Now let's just look into what all are the capabilities that our app would have, and in-app purchases are already checked, so that is good for us. So now we can just continue with it. So let's just go up, click on continue, and we can just register this app now. So let's register. Now soon it would just register and it should show up somewhere here. So we could search social media, or we could search via our identifier. So let's just search this, click on enter. Is it coming up? Yup, it's coming up. So this is fine for us. Now we go back inside Apple App Store Connect, then we click on plus, we select new app, then inside the bundle identifier you could see your bundle ID being shown. What would be the name of the app? So this appears actually on your app's product page. So let's just name this travel social media app. You could name it anything as per your choice. For the language, you would select English UK, and in the SKU, basically, let's just go inside here and see what does SKU stands for. This is a unique ID for your app that is not visible to the users. So you could just say my first app or something, or anything, whatever you like. So we do this, and we can just have full access here, and we'll select the platform as iOS, and now we can just click on create. So let's just wait for it to create, and soon we would see this screen appearing, and basically it states travel social media app. This is the name of our app, and it lands you to this page inside App Store Connect. We no longer need this, so we can just remove them from here. Now what we need to do is that we actually need to go inside the in-app purchase section. So let's just go inside in-app purchases. There you would be shown with something similar, which tells you that you don't have an in-app purchase right now, so you can just create one. So this type would actually be non-consumable, which means that it persists. Consumable is something such as coins and all that can be shown inside your app if it's a game or something. So that is one thing. For the reference name, it has to be shown on the App Store page. So we could say unlock full app, which basically means that after purchasing this, you are allowing user to unlock the full potential of the app. And for the product ID, let's name this social media app unlock full, which would be used later on. So how about we copy this thing out? We just go inside our main view model, and we can just paste it at the very top because it would be used, and then we can delete it from here later on. So that's it, that is it. Now let's just click on create. Now basically it would ask you for few more things. Basically it's asked for a reference name that we have already added. Let's set up the availability. So we'll select all the countries here. Let's click on done. Now for the pricing schedule, this app would actually have this in-app purchase, which would be, let's say, $2.99. Let's click on next, and it would show you how does it appear on other countries. This is fine. Let's click on next, and let's just click on confirm. So pricing and availability is also set up. Now what you need to do is that we have added this pricing schedule. We have the tax category. Let's add some localization. So let's add unlock full app. This allows users to unlock the full application. So we need, okay, we only had 5 characters left, so you can just create here. Now okay, this is done. So it asks us to give it a image that that best represents the in-app purchase. It will appear in your app's product page. So this is an optional thing, you don't really need to do it, but for the review process you would actually need to do it. So I will tell you shortly what does the review process is all about, but right now for our testing purposes I think we can just click on save and we can test this out now. So you can click on save for now. Once you would have saved it, you can just go back here and hopefully something appears here. Yep. So it has this reference name, unlock full app, product ID is here, the type is non-consumable, and this is created. Now what we need to do is that we actually need to use this again, a package which we would use to show our unlock page. So basically this package is by Swiftful Thinking. I really like his videos as well. So he really posts useful videos. So basically you can just copy this link from here. Now what we can do is that we can just go here, and inside file we have add package dependencies. You can just paste this here. We have Swiftful loading indicators. We could select up to next major version. Let's click on add package, and it will just start to fetch the package, and then we can move forward in our course and just do the required things. Basically one of the things is that we need to go to the main view of the app, and in the navigation stack, how about we just give this a preferred, let's do command Z, let's give us a preferred color theme. So basically why am I doing this? It should be called preferred color scheme, my bad. I'm keeping this app at all times in light mode because we have configured the text in light mode for the entire application. Some people might be using dark mode, and it may cause some issues for them, and right now we are not supporting both light and dark mode. So that is why I am making it strictly conform to light mode. So whether the user has dark mode enabled on their phone, they would still be directed to light mode inside this application, and the UI we have already seen, it would look something like this for them. So this all seems fine. Now what we can do is that we can add a new field for our database user actually. So right now every user has these fields, but now they can be an is premium field, which would determine if the user is an active which would determine if the user is a premium user or not, which is very much required because it's connected to Firebase. So that's how we would store the values. So then we have the app image and everything. Let's just go inside the main view model, and that we have already done. We have added an app logo and icon, so that seems fine. And we should go inside the sign up function basically. So let's just go inside sign up, and sign up will throw us an error as obvious, and for is premium we will send it to as boolean. So basically if this user is created freshly, they are all by default non-premium users. This is fine. Now what we would do is that we can just we need to create one unlock manager actually, and for that we would also need a premium view to show to the users. So there are two things to do, and then we need to make few changes like inside our create post view as well. So for now let's go into extensions basically, and let's do command N, because we need to write a very handy extension which would be store kit plus ext. I would explain it to you that why are we doing this. So basically, we just initialized our in-app purchase, and which was in US dollars, USD. But what if our users are somewhere else? Suppose they are Indians. So basically, it would show it to them in their own currency. So that is why for that purpose, we will write an extension on SK product, and basically it would be just localized, let's call this localized price, which would be of the type string. Let's open this up and let's just quickly create a formatter. This formatter would use a number formatter, and let's initialize the class. Then we have the formatter dot number style, and it should be of the type currency. Then we can have formatter dot locale is equal to price this, and then we can just return the formatter dot string from price, and price is some value which is available inside our store kit class. So that is why we are doing this, and we can just force and wrap it because we are sure of it that it would return a value. So okay, this is done here now. So now what we can do is that we can create our unlock manager. So I was thinking that we should create a whole another folder here, and let's create a new group. Let's call this payments. Now inside payments, let's create a new class, and it would be a Swift file. Let's call this unlock manager. Let's click on next. Unlock manager would actually be a class, so let's just type in unlock manager. Now what are the values that unlock manager would need? We need some imports as well. We would have combine here, we would have store kit here. So great for you that we are also working with combine also in this course. So unlock manager would conform to the types ns object, then it would be an observable object, then it would have sk payment transaction observer, and it would also conform to sk products request delegate. So these are the few things that you need to add inside unlock manager. Now it says that it does not conform to these types, so let's just add them here. This is there. Now let's just start by adding the function which would simply mean which should simply have the unlock functionality. So let's just call it func unlock premium. So this is there. Now unlock premium will take in a value is premium, which would be of the type boolean. Now you can open this class up. Basically we'll just guard let current, or we can do user id, which would be equal to auth dot current user dot uid, else we can just return from here. This is fine. Let's add optional here. Okay, now what we do is that we show a loader. So overlay dot show loader is there. Now we write haptics helper also, that should be medium tab. Now what we do is that we open a task object and we add a do and a catch block, and basically now we would reference the db, which would be firestore.firestore. Now we can use the user reference here. Basically we are updating our user to a premium customer in case the transaction succeeds. So that is what this whole functionality is for. And then what we can do is that we can use try await user reference dot update data, and it would take in the field which would be is premium, and it would turn it to be is premium. Let's just quickly check that in our database user the name is also is premium, so this is fine. This all seems fine to me. It says cannot find auth in scope, so let's do Firebase auth. Now this should work. Now inside the catch statement, basically now we can just do overlay dot hide loader. It again tells us cannot find Firestore in scope, so let's import Firestore as well. I mean Firebase. This seems fine. Let's do Firebase Firestore, and Firebase auth is also there, so this is fine. Now what we can do is that we can copy this overlay here as well, and we can print out the statement in case it fails, basically, which would be error updating user is premium value. Don't worry about the fact that we would show the user some alert as well in case their purchase was succeeded or not. That would be handled by StoreKit, so we can just now write a print statement here. So this function is completed. Now let's just quickly go inside the products request. So here what we would do is that we would open a dispatch queue. This would work on the main thread, so dispatch queue.main.async. Now what we would do is that we would store the returned products. Products is basically something like the products you have in your in-app purchase. So this is one product. So basically this functionality, it gets back all the products from our in-app purchases section inside of our app. So in case we need them, let's state that. Now we need to add some properties inside our class first of all. Before adding anything else, what we could do is that we can come here, we can add a published property. This published var request state would actually be a request state type, request state. And what is a request state? So basically it would actually be an enum which I could create inside of here, so it would not mend in with any of the other classes. So you could just write a private enum also, I believe. So this is there. Now we can add case loading, and we can have case loaded, and case loaded would have an optional error actually, and then we would have uh, case loaded should actually have an escape product with it, not an error, and case failed can have an error, which we would again make it optional, and then we can have case purchased, and then we would have a case deferred. So these are the different cases that our product type can be of. And now what we would do is that we can use loading. So this should ideally work now. Let's just say property must be declared file private. Okay, we can do this. So file private, if we do that, it's only accessible throughout this. Okay, if it's something like this, how about we just cut this out, paste it here only, because I don't want to declare this property private in case it causes us some issue. So yeah, this is there. Now what we can do is that we can create two constants, or maybe one constant which would be request, which would be of the type escape products request, and then we would have a private variable which would be loaded products, which we wanted to use just now, which would be an empty array with escape product. So let's just go inside the array, add the type escape product. This is there. Let's open and close parenthesis to initialize an empty array. So this seems fine. Now what we can do is that we can go inside our product request function. Let's cut this out from here, paste this here. Now inside our products function, we could do self.loaded products would be equal to response dot products. This is there. Now we can just guard let unlock, and we can get our loaded products dot first, because it could be an optional, and if it does not exist, we could do our request state, and we can set it to failed, and it should be store error, and we don't have a type store error right now. So I was thinking that do we also need that? So let me just think about it for a second. Do we need a store error, or can we work without it? So basically I think it should be store kit error not available in storefront. This seems fine. So okay, this is there. We don't have missing, right? We don't have, so not available in storefront. This seems fine, and we can return from here. In case it is present, we can do if response dot invalid product identifiers is empty, we can equal it to false, and we are just checking that if is empty is false. What we can do is print, and like a print statement would be received invalid identifiers. So that is fine. If invalid product identifiers is not empty, then that basically means that we have received invalid identifiers. And then we can also self.response request state, request state should be selected to failed again, and this time it would have store error, and it would be a store kit error with invalid. Okay, it does not have that. So let me just quickly check, do I need to I have store kit here, so I don't think so I need any. We can have store kit error dot. Okay, let me just think about it. We need invalid identifiers, but it is not there. So that is a bit weird. We could either make an enum here, which could we work with, or we can just add the same error here as well, and we can take care of this later on, I would say. So we can just add a return statement here. Now what we would do is that self.request state would actually be loaded and it would have unlock here, which is the SK product. So this is there. Now we can actually just move forward and create an initializer of our class. And basically this initializer would actually have few properties. So first of them should be is premium, should be of the type boolean. Now this is there. What all we do, we just select a product ID, and this product ID would have our value. So let's just go inside our main view model. Let's just go up, cut this out, cross this here, go back, paste this here, and then what we can do is that we can create an array product IDs, and not an array but a set because it removes duplicates. So we have product ID inside of here. Now we can create request, which should be SK product request. Then we would have product identifiers, and product ID should be passed here. Now we can do super.init. This is fine. Then what we can do is that we can open a SK payment queue. So SK payment queue. Then we can have default, and we can add ourselves here. So this is there. Then we can just guard is premium equals false, else we return, because we do not need to update it for someone who's already an unlocked user. Then we can just add request dot delegate equals to self, because we are conforming to those classes. And then we can do request dot start inside the initializer of our class itself. Now we need to write a deinitializer as well. So dinit, is the spelling wrong? Yeah, it is wrong. So the dinit would simply have an SK payment queue, and this should be default dot remove dot self. So we are no longer observing the payment queue, and then we can actually create our private enum store error, which we would actually use inside of our functionality rather than using the StoreKit error. So we can have case invalid identifiers, and we can have a case of missing product, and then these are the two we need. So we can have store error dot missing product, and then we can have store error dot invalid identifiers. So this seems fine. We could also make our enum private here as well, that would work fine. So this is there. Now it says unlock manager does not conform to the type. Okay, so we actually need to make it conform to the type error. That should solve the issue. So this is there. Now let's just write few functions that we would be using from our UI end. So there should be a buy function, which would take in a product as an argument, which would be of the type SK product. What we would do is that we would create a payment instance. So let payment is equal to SK payment. SK payment takes in a product. We can pass in our product, and then we can do SK payment queue dot default dot add, and we can add the payment here. Basically this would be the buy functionality. We would also feature the restore functionality. So restore payment is something app features. If you have already purchased an app and you remove it from your phone and then you access it sometime back, they allow you to restore your purchases. So that is what this functionality is for. So you can just restore completed transaction, and this does the work. Now let's go inside the function payment queue, and here we would again open a dispatch queue.main.async. After opening that, what we would do is that we will what we can do is that we can access the self property. Now we can have for transaction in transactions, we can switch transaction dot transaction state, and I think it should on its own tell us that switch is not exhaustive. So we have purchased and we also have restored state. So how about we club them together? This we can do. We can have self dot unlock premium is premium equals true, because in those cases that purchased and not purchasing. So basically for the cases where it is purchased or restored, obviously the unlock premium function must need to run, and it would update our DB with that user being a premium user. Then we have a request state. So where is we have self dot request state, and this request state should be marked as purchase, so that is fine. And then what we can do is that we can use the queue, and then we can have finish transaction, and we can pass in our transaction here. So this is fine. Now we need to add case for failed cases, so we can remove this code from here. And for failure cases, let's cut this out, paste it here. This is fine, this is fine. Let's for failure cases we will check if let product is equal to loaded products dot first. We open this curly braces, self dot request state equals dot loaded, and loaded would actually take in a product, so we could show the product here. Else what we can do is that we can use self dot request state, and then we can mark it as failed because we did not find any product. We can have transaction dot error here. So this is the case where it fails, or either it is trying to load the products to show to the user. For the deferred state, we could just say self dot request state equals deferred, and I don't think so we have any purchasing state that we need to define here. So what we can do is that we can have default value, which would be to break. So yep, that is there. We are handling the deferred state, we are handling in the field also we need to actually use queue dot finish transaction with transaction. So this is there. So we have a failed state, we have a purchase restored state, and we have a deferred state, and all the other states we can just add break statement. Now what we need to do is that we can create a variable can make payments, and this would take in a boolean, and this boolean we can have sk payment q dot can make payments. Let's just option click on this and know what does it do. Indicates whether the user is allowed to make payments or not. So that is why we would try to run in order to know if that the user is allowed to make the payments, but we are not actually using this boolean anywhere. So it seems that this is fine. It says property must be declared private if it's, let's just remove this private from here. I mean, it's no longer required. This seems fine. Now what we need to do is that we need to create an unlock view. So what we can do is that we can go inside views, or we can go inside payment only, and we click here, we select a SwiftUI view and call this unlock view. We create the unlock view, we remove the preview panel from here. Inside of here we would actually import store kit, and we would actually import our loading indicators. So it should be swiftful loading indicators. This is here. Now what we can do is that we can add the environment object for our presentation mode, so the environment value I mean, and we can create a presentation mode here. Now let's add the observed object, and it should be our unlock manager. So it should be of the type unlock manager, and then we can have another observed object, and this should actually be our main view model. So view model, let me just quickly fix this. View model, which would be of the type main view model. This is fine. Now what we can do is that we can create a Z stack here. This Z stack would have a background color. This background color this time would be mid gray. Let's do this one, and we can press enter. Now what we can do is that we can open a vertical stack up. Inside the vertical stack we would have a switch statement which should switch on the unlock manager dot request state, and basically for all the different request states we would have different UI views. So we can just do fix, and we can do fix again. I think it should have shown us keys dot loaded, and it has a product, so let's do let's product, and we should show a text view for now which would say premium, which should say premium view is here. Now what we can do is that we can have a case dot failed, and we don't need the error here. Actually we could show them some text, and we can show the user that sorry, there was an error loading the store, please try again later sometime. Try again later in some time, I mean. Now we can just give it some custom font. So fonts dot custom, fonts dot bold, size should be like 22, and we can give it some tint which would be color UI color dot game green. So this is there. Now what we can do is that we can have the loading state. So case dot loading is there. Now inside the loading state we would have a vertical stack to show to the user, and this would have our loading indicator with animation, which we would use 3 balls triangle. And then for the color, basically we are utilizing that library that we just installed via the packages, and then we are using its loading indicator. We can provide it some size as well, I believe. So this is there. Inside the size, as large is there. Now inside the speed, let's keep it normal. So yeah, this is there. Now we can add a text which should say something like it should say something like loading, and we can make the L capital. Loading. This seems fine. What we can do is that we can just copy this modifier out, paste it here. Now we must be having a case dot purchase. So case dot purchased, and for the case dot purchased we should add a text which should show to the user that thank you, your purchase was successful. So this is there, and we can pass in the entire same modifier here as well. Now we can have a case dot deferred state, and basically for this we can add a text again, and this text would say thank you, your request is pending approval, but you can carry on using the app in the meantime. So this is there. Now what we can do is that we can add some modifiers here as well. So let's just do that. Now do we have any other case left? We also have so there's the deferred case. What I think so is that we no longer need a default because we have already used all of the values basically. So this is there. Now what we can do is that after the parenthesis we can add a button. This button would have an action and label. And for the action, we would actually just have dismiss, and dismiss is a function that we need to write. So we can just comment this out for now. We can add a text which would say dismiss, and we can give it some properties. So let's just copy this thing out, paste it here for now. Now what we can do is that after giving it some font, we can give it some padding. After that, we can give it some frame. The frame would have maximum width of infinity, so infinity, and then alignment should be, we don't need any sort of alignment. Basically, we can have a background color. Background color should be color UI color. This is there. This should have something like maximum yellow or something, and then we can have tint dot black. So this is there. Tint, I guess it would work as the foreground color, and the corner radius should be like 10 pixels. So this seems fine to me. Now we can give this button some padding, which would be like horizontal padding, since we have made the width to infinity, so that is needed. Now what we can do is that we can add this whole view, give it some background like color, and it should have UI color dot mid gray. So this is there. Now we can do on receive modifier. Basically, it should say unlock manager dot request state, basically, and make this a binding. Now we click on enter here, so we have a value property from here. Now if case dot purchased is there, which is equal to the value, we again dismiss the view, and that is why we need the dismiss so bad. So how about we close this functionality out? After the body, we can just write the dismiss function here, and dismiss, basically what it does is that it allows our view model dot fetch user data should be called, because we need to update the user in case it's a premium user anymore or not. For the user ID, we could use view model dot database user dot user ID optional, and current user should be true. And then we have one presentation mode dot wrapped value dot dismiss. From this, I remember we added that other database user thing which we never really worked on, so we can actually remove that from there as well. So yeah, this is there. Now inside the Z stack, I think we have a dismiss state here as well. So this is there. Now that we have created our unlock view, what we need to do is that we need to make a premium view as well, and we also need to show, basically the premium view would show the user that what are they purchasing and what are the benefits out of it. So that is one thing that we need to do. And also inside our create post view, we would actually need to make some changes. So how about we go inside payments, click on command and click on Swift UI, and call this one premium view. So this must be there. Now we can just import store kit here as well. So let's just quickly do that. We can remove the preview panel from here. Now let's just quickly work with our premium view. So it should have a property which would be product, and it should be of the type SK product, and let's mention the spelling right. This is there. Now let's add an observed object which would be var unlock manager, and this should be of the type unlock manager. This is there. Now inside the body, let's open a vertical stack up. Inside the vertical stack, we can add a spacer first, then we can create another vertical stack. We can add an alignment. This alignment would be leading, and we would have some spacing here, so let's just add some spacing which would be like 10 pixels. So let's open this vertical stack up, open an H stack here. Now what we can do is that we can add a text which would state that, yeah, the user should try social media app full. And what we can do is that we can add font. This should be custom, and it should be fonts dot bold, so that is there. For the size it should be 25. Okay, and for the foreground color, basically foreground style, it should be white. Let's make it white, so this is there. Then we can add a text which would say premium. So basically we can remove this and it should have premium, and then it would have something like this. It should be fonts bold, foreground color white, and let's just add some padding to itself, which I guess, do we need a padding here or no? So I'm just thinking about it, we don't need a padding here. What we can do is that we can add an image, and this image would actually be our app logo. So from what I remember, we did had image constants. Do we not have any constants here? Okay, we do. So images, and there is no image constant. Let's go inside resources. Let's see what is our app logo name. So it's simply defined as app logo. We can just directly use this here, it's not an issue. So we can have app logo here. Let's make this resizable. Let's make it scale to fit. Then we can give it a frame. So the frame would have a width of 60 pixels, a height of 60 pixels, and an alignment of center. So let's just go inside here, add the alignment as center. This is there. Now edge stack is completed. What we can show is that we can show the user the pricing. So we would use text, and inside of here we can just use product dot localized price, which is why we wrote that extension. So we have a lifetime unlock here. Now what we can do is that we can add font dot custom fonts dot bold, and then we can add size 25 here. Then we can add a foreground style, and that would be color UI color dot game green. So this is there. Now what we would do is that we would open another edge stack, and this edge stack would have some features of our application. Basically what all we get after unlocking the app, so get access to make unlimited posts. This is there. Then we can add a custom font. We can just copy from here, we can paste the custom font here. Let's give it a size 20 only, and then we can have a spacer. Basically in the spacer we could add some image basically alongside it, and this image would have a system name, and the system name would be checkmark dot circle dot fill. So this is there. Now what we can do is that we can add some foreground color, so that would be color UI color dot blue, which is the same color we have been using. Now what we can do is that we can copy this thing out, and let's just paste it few times so that we can list out the features of the app that the users get after they unlock our full app. So this get access to make unlimited posts. We should have one as weekly updates. So this is there. Then what we can do is that let me think about it. We could have connect with new people with more reach or something. Connect with new people with more reach or something. We can just add some features to make people subscribe to us. We can write many more premium features coming very soon, something like that. So this all seems fine. Now what we can do is that we can add some padding to our we can add some padding to our view, and let's add a spacer here, and then we can add the button basically, and this button would facilitate the payment thing. So we could use unlock manager dot buy, and we'll pass in the product, and inside the label we would just simply say text, and we would have unlock, and this unlock would have a font dot custom. It would use fonts dot bold, and it would have a size of 18, and then it would have some padding here. Now it would need some frame, which would be max width dot infinity. So this is there. Now you can have some background. So for the background we would have color, then UI color dot maximum yellow. This is there. Then we would have tint dot black, and then we would have corner radius dot 10, and let's just give it some padding, and this padding should be horizontal. It should be 30. Let's give it like 30, and this is there. Now we can add another function basically, and we should copy this out, add this here, call this restore purchases. This would restore the purchases, so we don't need to pass in any product. This should do the same thing. So what we can do is that we can add blue Crayola here. This looks better. Now we finally add another spacer, so make those buttons a bit up or something, and then we can add some frame to it. The frame should have a maximum width of infinity, and we can have a background which would be color UI color dot mid gray. So this seems fine. Now that we have created our premium view, we could just use our premium view. So let's just go inside our unlock view, and inside unlock view, if the user proceeds to buy, we could use the premium view. And let's just see that what all changes do we need to make here. We do have the unlock view, and the premium view will take in a product which is already generated here, and it will take in an unlock manager which is here. So this seems fine. Now that we have done this much, how about we just go inside our create post view, and basically we would need to make few changes inside the create post view. So that must be there. So let's just quickly go inside our create post view. So now what you need to do is that instead of just main view model, you would actually create a state object which would be var unlock manager, and it would be of the type unlock manager. Now what we can do is that we can create an initializer for our class, our structure I mean. So this initializer would be something like this, and honestly I did not need all of this. We can remove this from here, we can remove all of this from here, we can remove this as well. So it takes in a view model, and it takes in the underlying view model value. We wrap our view model inside an observed object dot wrap value, which would be our view model. This is there. Let's select let is premium constant should be equal to view model dot database user dot is premium. If it's not empty, or if it's empty, you can assign it the value false. Now we will initialize our unlock manager class with that value. So we would use a state object. The state object with a wrapped value should be our unlock manager, and should have an is premium value which we have defined above here. So this needs to go inside of here. This seems fine. I think we don't need to add any of the other things here other than one state property, basically state private var, and we call this show unlock sheet. So this should be there. Let's add the boolean property now. Let's remove this extra spacing. What we do now is that inside of our function add post, let's go inside of here. Now instead of all this, we must check for this property view model dot database user dot is premium. If it's not possible, let's do it false. And we would also check for two values. So let's just wrap this up inside parenthesis. So basically either if the user is premium, or either view model dot post dot count is actually less than 1, we would allow the users to make this API call and they would be allowed to create a post. But else if it is not, what we can do is that we can trigger the show unlock sheet to true. What it essentially does is that it would make the unlock sheet go if the user is not a premium user and they are trying to make more than one post. So this is the condition I have kept here basically, and doesn't need to be similar to the thing. Basically you could make your own condition as well, but I feel like for testing purposes this seems the best. So in the binding property we would say show unlock sheet, and then inside the content we would actually have our unlock view, and this unlock view would take in an unlock manager. This unlock manager is the unlock manager we have created here, and we take in a view model as well. So this is there. Now what we need to do is that we need to on appear we need to call this function as well. So view model dot fetch user post, because we need to now know the user's post, so post count basically. So view model dot database user dot user id, else you can pass in empty string, and the completion handler can remain empty here. So we can just minus this out, we can open parenthesis, do something like this. So this is there. Now what we would do is that we need to test this whole functionality out. We have created, let's just walk you through the whole functionality that we did. Basically we just went inside App Store Connect, registered our app, and then we added an in-app purchase on the App Store Connect as well. Now we came back inside our app, we created an unlock manager which handles all of the functionalities. I think can make payments can be removed, it's not being used anywhere. Now what we did is that we created two enums for request state and also for, I'm sorry about that, store error. Then we have buy functionality, restore functionality, then we have the payment queue for all the different scenarios that could happen. Now this is there. What else we did is that we created an initializer which uses the s premium boolean value, and basically it checks like if the person is eligible for the product or not. And then we have this unlock premium functionality, it is for unlocking our own user from our Firebase database, and so that is what we did. So basically we need to keep in check with Firebase in sync that if the user is premium or not, we are not storing any info inside our own application. So that is there. Now we created a premium view which will basically show off the useful features of our app if the user converts to it. Then we have the unlock and the restore purchases button. The unlock view basically shows the different states. So one is our premium view, there is the failed state, the loading state with our loader which we used via our package dependencies, there's the purchase and the defer state, and there's the dismiss button to dismiss the whole thing if in case the user does not want to proceed with the transaction. And now we made some changes inside our custom alert view so that we can show our unlock view there to the user. So what we would do now is that we would need actual personal phone and actual iOS device in order to uh, check our in-app purchases. So in the next video I will show you by making a demo purchase that how is our app has turned out to be. So stay tuned for that, and I would just soon make the functionality work, and we'll check this out, and we would get to know if everything works fine or not. So I hope to see in the next video. Thank you for watching this. In case you have any kinds of doubts, please leave them down in the comments below. I would be very happy to help you.